Hello everybody. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another video with Latruth QT. And tonight we will be talking about this beautiful couple, Mr. Latruth and Mrs. Latruth. Okay, this story is everywhere. Anyone who has a platform, they've been talking about this story. It's so much to this story. This story actually started last year and it's still going. So let's go ahead and get into the video. What I want us to do is summarize exactly what has happened and then where they are now. So late last year, Mrs. Latruth went live and she told us that her husband put a tote over her head and that he broke her finger. This was big news everywhere. So at that point, we thought that they were broken up. Mr. Latruth was telling everyone that it was a skit. He was basically doing damage control. He did not want to lose either of their platforms, so that's what he stated. Moving on, Mrs. Latruth, they did a couple of videos together, but Mrs. Latruth looked as if she was very unhappy in those videos. She looked as if he was forcing her to do those videos. At this point, everyone was team Mrs. Latruth. We were so upset, that she was being treated this way. And so we wanted her, of course, to divorce her husband or get out of that situation. Now, what is coming out, or what has come out, is that Mr. Latruth, he ended up posting a video showing another piece of that situation where Mrs. Latruth was actually on the phone with the police. She stated that he had a gun when he didn't. And so that's when the tide started to turn against Mrs. Latruth. Mrs. Latruth had already claimed domestic violence, and Mr. Latruth basically posted that video to say, hey, this person is lying on this video and is lying about the domestic violence situation. Other videos have come out since then where we have heard audio of Mrs. Latruth saying, I never said that he beat me physically, but he did actually put the tote over my head, which broke my finger. What we heard is that Mr. Latruth wanted out. He filed for divorce. That was also another discrepancy because Mrs. Latruth claimed that she filed for divorce. But needless to say, whomever filed for divorce, they both wanted out at some point, and that's where they're both at right now. So fast forward to today, Mrs. Latruth is now dating someone else, and I stand corrected. She's not dating someone else. She has a friend, and this is what she's stating. She's in a situationship. She is not necessarily in a relationship because she's still married. They have not divorced yet. And then Mr. Latruth, he is basically putting out there that the only reason that the divorce is not finalized at this point is because Mrs. Latruth has not signed the paperwork. So we're asking, what's the holdup? Also, Mrs. Latruth is also being accused of setting up her supporters to then do her dirty work and to basically do some damage to some of these content creators who are harassing or talking bad or speaking negatively about Mrs. Latruth. So that's where we are at today. That being said, I wanted to say, based on this story, we've heard a lot of content creators call Mr. and Mrs. Latruth a narcissist. I'm not sure if either one of them are narcissists, right? I'm not skilled or trained in that. But what I will say is that they are simply a couple going through what typical people go through when they go through a divorce. Unfortunately, most divorces are not amicable. So if you're going through a divorce, that obviously means that you want to be apart from the other person. It may not be a pleasant situation. So yes, smear campaigns happen, but unfortunately, this couple, they happen to be on social media. It's just not a pretty sight. But to call them both a narcissist, I just really think that the context of this situation, a divorce, it sort of puts them both in a different light. And you have to understand that, self-preservation is at the forefront of anyone when you're going through a divorce. You want to come out the winner. He wants to come out the winner. She wants to come out the winner. But I believe that this is definitely their business. It's not any of mine. However, they did put their business out there on social media, so we are able to give our thoughts and opinions. I wanted to hear what you all felt about this situation. I want you all to weigh in, give me your feedback, your thoughts and opinions as well. And one thing that I did forget to mention is that they do have a young daughter. And that daughter, of course, will be in both of their lives, to the end of times. So with that being said, they will have to eventually come together, work together, and co-parent. So I'm hoping that this situation turns out a lot better than where it was or where it started. And, it's an unfortunate situation for everyone that's involved in this situation. So I'm hoping for the best for Mr. and Mrs. Latruth. I'm hoping that, of course, they are able to reconcile as friends to co-parent for their young daughter. They also share, I know he has bonus kids with her and she has a bonus kid with him. So I know that the kids can be affected. They can be, of course, impacted by this situation. So hoping that it all works out. Please weigh in the comments below. Thank you so much and have a good night.